right, we're here at my tiny worm bin, and the last time we were in here, we fed it only foods that we had consumed on our trip, or the food scraps rather, and also only the bedding that we had. And we had a bit of an unusual feeding, so we want to jump in here and see how much of it they have eaten and how they've done with some of the paper scraps and cardboard scraps that we've collected. Now, this was a paper towel that I didn't bury very well, so we're going to bring that back in. And one of the things that I mentioned last time is that we're not going to put any other food scraps or any kind of bedding in here that didn't come from one of our trips. And one of the things we want to find out is how much volume or mass do these things like this have. And this is a toilet paper roll. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So I only have one toilet paper roll left over from our trip, and this is not it. This right here is it. This is equivalent to this, but I put it through the shredder. So if you want to see what the equivalent of a toilet paper roll shred up, it is this right here. And we're going to try to remember to put that back in when we start our feeding. And I've got to give a shout out to Rick from Gardening with Checkin for giving me the idea to compare what that toilet paper roll looks like shredded. So we're going to jump in here right down the middle and see if we see any of the food scraps that we had put in here previously. And we are certainly seeing lots of worms. So I'm very happy about that. And let's kind of review what we put in here last. First, we put in a small piece of 8 carton and ripped up a hot apple cider corrugated cardboard sleeve, or zarf. Then we put down a paper towel on top of that. Next, we put in a piece of gingerbread house and the crust of a sandwich, followed by a lettuce stalk, tomato top, some strawberry tops, along with some strands of spaghetti and cucumber slices. Then I just dumped in the rest of the remnants. Finally, we sprinkled in some used coffee grounds and eggshell grit, all from our last trip to the Blue Ridge Mountains. Then we topped it off with another paper towel and attempted to bury it. So digging under here, I don't think we're going to find too much of, kind of the juicy food. What I do want to look for is that gingerbread, and I think I put it right here. And let me kind of dig up. I think I am seeing a little area with a lot of worms and a whole lot of mites right there. Check out all those mites. Oh my gosh, there are a lot. There's also a lot of worms in that area. So very interesting. I don't know if this is all the gingerbread cookie or if maybe it had some sugar icing on it. But yeah, that is covered in mites. And let me look through here, just kind of moving it around a little bit. Clearly, all the critters in this bin are interested in whatever was right here. Lots of worms. Check that out. Man, all kinds of sizes too. Lots of juveniles and lots of adult worms. But that is interesting that we've got some mites. I'm even seeing some pot worms. They are very tiny, almost thread-like worms that are in here. Not too many of them, but that is another bin critter. Let me see if you can see at the end of my finger right there are a couple of pot worms. And then one right here as well. Hopefully you'll be able to catch that. But whatever that was, they are all over it. And mostly are compost worms. Fantastic. Let me see if maybe it went over here. Not sure. The consistency of this bin is pretty good. It's fairly moist. It could be moister, but we'll try and improve that with some of the food that we have in here, or that we're going to put in here. And it's kind of clumping up. Now, we did the migration method, so you see a lot of shredded cardboard in here. We're not going to put any extra outside of our trips, but this right here I keep grabbing is a peach seed. Let's come over to this corner and see if there's anything of interest over here. Just a lot of different bedding material, like the different cardboard tubes. This looks like it was that zarf that I talked about earlier. Yeah, I had to look up that word. I didn't know what those things were called, and I learned that they're called zarfs. So very cool. We're going to have a lot of good bedding in here, so I'm not too worried about that. It's going to have plenty. We'll go over to this corner here and just kind of dump around. I'm feeling something under here. And yeah, just a great little area with lots of worms. This is such a tiny worm bin. Really, it is the size of maybe a men's shoebox. So no matter where I go, we are going to find some worms, and big, beautiful ones like this. Every worm that is in here is a red wiggler, I guess except for those pot worms I was talking about. But this is just one species in here. Looking good, looking good. Okay, whoa, what's this? This right here looks like a piece of broccoli or possibly Brussels sprout. This is usually what it ends up doing. You get the worms go through the center just like you have there, and kind of the outside of it is a little bit more fibrous and hard. So let me try and kind of pull it open and see if we have a bunch of worms in there. And oh yeah, got a big fat one in there, and then some little ones, and lots of mites as well. Very cool. I think right over here was where the bread was, and I thought that if anything was still going to show up, it would be that, because we really didn't bury it very good, and hopefully I haven't passed by it. I'm not seeing it anywhere. I just keep running into this peach seed, so you know what? I'm just going to take it out. Keep going down here because I see something right here that almost looks moldy. This might have been something we ran into earlier, but if anything is going to be either the gingerbread or the regular crust of the bread, it would be that. Just go under a little bit more. Yep, I'm just not seeing it. So that's actually a good sign that they have eaten that. I don't like to put a whole lot of bread in here. One, it kind of stays dry. They don't eat it right away, but it can cause some problems in your worm bin. But just like anything, if you do it in moderation, if you feed them any food really in moderation, they will be able to handle it. Now, a bin this small, I don't do too many experiments in here because even if you put a little bit of food that could be toxic to them, like that tofu experiment I did or the protein powder, it really could spread to the other part of the bin really easily. So only do experiments if you've got a pretty big bin relative to what you're experimenting with. So we're just going to put a trough right here, and we will put down that toilet paper roll that I shredded up. So there we go until we go on another trip. This is the last of the shredded cardboard this bin's going to have. Spread that out a little bit, and then let's put down that looks like a napkin that we had previously in there, just like that. Can't believe I remembered it. All right, because you told me. Can't believe the executive producer remembered it. And then I had 2 of these egg cartons to put in here. I think I'll just put in 1 because of all the big bedding that I'm running into, this is what I'm running into. So let me just kind of rip it up a little bit, and I'm going to try and focus it right on the bottom here. So any of the food that I put in releases its juices right on top of here, and the worms and the other critters within here get to it. So here is what we had in mind to feed. We've got a fairly intact apple core right there. This right here is some cabbage. Now, it has been frozen for almost a month, and cabbage is one of those things that if you let any of it be raw, then it will try to grow back. Cabbage is absolutely incredible. So hopefully all of that is dead by all the freezing, and you can see by me pushing it, it has a lot of liquid in it. Next, we'll put down a banana, and then we've got all kinds of great strawberries in here and some cucumber slices. Oh my gosh, I have no idea what that is. Oh, oh.
Oh, yep.
Someone put in the yolk of an egg. We are not putting that in our worm bin.
Wow.
That trip to the Blue Ridge Mountains was with our kids and their wife slash fiance slash girlfriend. So one of those tricksters put that in there.
Who doesn't eat yolk?
I don't know. Sorry, we had to take a little break there. The executive producer and I are cracking up. So we're going to put in this paper towel just like that.
Oh, coffee.
And we're going to take it right back out because I forgot to put the coffee grounds in here. So this was the coffee grounds that we saved up, and I've just left it on the counter to the executive producer's dismay. But we're just going to dump it right in. It looks like we've got some tea bags. And I don't know if the tea bags are biodegradable or even this thing, or the strings, but we will find them because the worms will eat around them and we'll be able to find them. So I'm just going to put in just a little bit more, just like that. And then I'll use this napkin to clean it off, just like that. And we'll put it down. There we go. I was pretty impressed. We really didn't find too much of the napkin that I put on just like this last time after we buried it up. So we're going to do the same thing, and then we're going to put that plastic over the top of it. That plastic does a really good job of refocusing the moisture back down into the bin, which helps it to get consumed by the microbes and the worms and helps you to make more great natural organic fertilizer in your worm bins.
I guess you can put the eggshell grit on top.
Son of a gun.
You were talking, so I couldn't tell you.
And the executive producer saved my bacon again. We forgot to put eggshell grit, so I'm going to put that on there. And again, these are all the shells that we collected on our last trip. All right, so they've got a little grit on top, and this will actually be interesting because I'm going to put the plastic right over here, and we'll see if they get to any of that eggshell or the eggshell that's right under the napkin here. And next we'll put in our plastic, and I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, hit that subscribe button and give me a like. And if you want to see a quick, funny video where we counted every worm in this bin, check out this video right here. I made a little bit more of a mess than I typically do in this bin. There we go, just like that. So I hope you're having a great day. I hope your worm bins are doing fantastic. So happy vermicomposting, everybody. Take care now.